Hello, my name is Gwen Mazza, and this is The Art of Transitions. We are doing a second series in a conversation that I've been having with Stacy Henning. She's actually the marketing director of GRE. Stacy joined me last time, and we were discussing her favorite topic, or a topic that we felt was important, called a wake-up call. Stacy, in our last meeting, shared with us her experience and her journey of going in and having a mammogram, a routine mammogram, discovering that she had stage 0 cancer, and the process she went through to go through the treatment of the cancer, as well as how that opened up her doors and her world. This second episode is going to be focusing not only on Stacy's health and wellness again, but options and choices that she made as she woke up to a new life and chose to see her world different. Happens to many of us, so stay tuned. We'll be right back, and we'll be with Stacy at that time. Thank you. Hi, welcome back to The Art of Transitions. I'm Gwen Mazza, and our guest again is Stacy Henning. Hi, Stacy.
Hi.
Thanks for coming and being with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You were so kind to be with us to really open the doors for going in for a simple mammogram and coming out with information that you had received the information that you had stage 0 breast cancer. You also were kind enough to talk about how you actually walked through the journey, which is unique to you, and shared with our audience the opportunity to be gracious to themselves of the journey and how they do it. There's no perfect way, no right and wrong. And you also offered some tips on how to really care for themselves. But this piece of this show is really going to be dedicated more to the benefits of that wake-up call.
Okay.
So we're going to spend a little bit of time being with Stacy, and she's going to share with us some of her really cool adventures and maybe some really big life choices she needed to make as a result of that time in her life, which opened doors. How's
Great.
that?
You make me sound so exciting. I
Well,
don't know
you
that
are
I don't know
exciting.
that I'm that exciting, but
Well,
I'm here 4 years later, and I'm happy to be here. And I don't think 3 years ago I would have been comfortable talking about this journey and my own personal battle with cancer. I don't know if battle is really the right word, but now I feel very comfortable that I am a survivor, and that, 4 years later I'm doing great things with my life that I never would have thought would have been a possibility when I was first diagnosed. So this is an opportunity to share some hope and some positive thinking with other people, then that's great.
Beautiful. And my experience with you is it's not just been in one area that your life has expanded and opened up. Your world is opening up all over, and you're also giving it permission to continue to open up. Is that correct?
I am. I feel very lucky about where I work.
Let's talk about that a bit. Talk about the miracles
and
and work.
Greater Rochester Enterprise. I've worked there for 6.5 years. And our goal and our mission is to attract new business and new capital investment and new jobs to the Rochester region. I've been in marketing for more than 20 years. I was about to say 40 years. That's not possible.
Well, we look real good.
We look real good.
Yeah, we started when we were 4.
That's
there
right.
We go.
And I have worked in many different industries, and telecommunications, financial services, and to have the opportunity to work in economic development to really make a difference in our community. And when we're successful, it means so much to so many people in terms of new job opportunities for people, new capital investment flowing into the community for the existing businesses that are here. It's just so much more rewarding to me. And
Now, particularly now, having gone through this experience. It's pretty neat
on
how
a
that worked.
variety of levels. I like who I work with, and I like the mission, and it's tough to get excited when the dog food's not so great to market it. Whereas here, the product really sells itself. The region just has so many wonderful assets to it that makes my job exciting and interesting. And I work for Mark Peterson,
Right.
who has given me tremendous opportunities. I now produce a radio show that you've been on, which is great, which we run every Saturday morning on WHAM 1180. And it's a great opportunity for me to meet new people in the community and learn about the resources and share that with our listeners. So I'm having fun with it. But I don't know that a couple years ago I would have been comfortable doing something like that. But Mark's kind of pushed me to stretch myself and get out of my comfort zone and do some interesting things that help me evolve, which I think is really important. And I like to learn. I like to do new things. And if you sit at your desk every day doing the same thing, day after day after day, you get stale.
Were you doing that somewhat, or do you think that, although I don't see you totally doing that because of who you are, did it get louder for you to live your work life? I mean, we're going to look at all the different areas of your life, but really live that work life more vibrantly as a result of having gone through the treatment and the way you began to see your life differently.
I would say after I was treated and I felt great.
So when you were feeling physically better.
I just had this newfound energy to give back.
Beautiful.
You know,
And
to give back to my job, to my employer, who was so supportive of me when I was diagnosed. Dennis Mullen, who was our CEO at that time, as well as Mark Peterson, who was my, our COO at that time and now our CEO, just couldn't have been more supportive of me when I was battling with cancer, and said, whatever you need to do, we're here for you. Don't worry about a thing at work. We've got your back, and truly meant it. And once I was well, I wanted to give back to them even more than I had before, because I just felt like they were truly partners with me in my quest to get well. And so, you know, a lot of gratitude there. Yeah, definitely a lot. And they also see a lot in me that maybe I don't see in myself. In terms of my ability. And so Mark in particular has always been really good about pushing me to stretch and get out of my comfort zone, and has given me tremendous... I'm watching him now work with his whole team. It is incredible. He's a really good leader. Yeah, he does a good job. And so are you, and so is your other team members. Yes, it's a very nice team. You guys are an incredible organization. Speaking of other people, tell me about these children of yours. Yeah. They were, again, how old when you were diagnosed? Jake was 10 at the time, and Samara, my math, it would have been 6. And now they're 10 and 14. And how did this event open the doors to being a little bit different kind of a mom? Oh, I don't know that. Well, am I a different kind of mom? Well, you're definitely more expansive mom, I'm sure. Yeah, you're talking about your daughter laying her head on your shoulder and saying, "Mom, I love you." Yeah, and that's when you knew why. Right. My kids are champions of mine, and I am of them. And my daughter, when I was in the middle of radiation treatments, I had 30 radiation treatments, and it starts to take its toll on you as it builds up in your system. You start to get tired. Didn't feel so great, and there was just one particular night that I just needed to put my head down and go to sleep. And my daughter, who was 6 at the time, just was there at the right moment with the right emotion, and just truly connected with me, and put her head on my arm, and she just said, "Mom, I love you." And that was when I was just so clear to me that no matter what's going on with the radiation treatments and all the other junk in my head and in my life, then I'm a mom, and I'm going to power through all of this to be there for Samara and for Jake, my son, too. And, you know, we don't have a perfect relationship. I'm not winning awards as the mom of the year, as I tell all of my friends. Exactly. But I feel like I have 2 amazing children, and who are at overnight camp right now, having an amazing time, loving every minute of it. And they're on vacation for mom. They're on vacation for mom, and as when they start to get a little nervous, not my son, he doesn't get nervous at this age, but my daughter gets a little uptight about maybe she'll be a little homesick. I remind her that she won't have mom nudging her for a month, so that's a good thing. There you go. But you know, we have a good relationship, and I try to appreciate when we have fun together, and not just be militant mom, which is what I have a tendency to be. And, you know, try to just cherish those moments when we can get to go travel together and do fun things. And be present with them, which is the piece for me as a mom I love is, I love being my daughter's mom right at the moment. Sometimes it's a little challenging, as we all know,
there's no age I would want her to go back to. And I do think because of major life events for myself and having to wake up at different experiences, that it's given me the chance to be present with her here instead of waking up one day and all of a sudden it's all gone. So those are some of the pieces that I'm hearing from you too, or in conversations.
Yeah, I mean,
you've got to be present.
I'd like to be, I'm always striving to do better. And I think and particularly with my children, I always feel like there's, okay, wake up tomorrow and we can start anew. We can get over the challenges we had last night at 10 o'clock when I wanted you to go to bed or whatever it is, right? But the book that you recommended to me, The 4 Agreements, was just such a powerful example of how I want to live my life in terms of particularly about do your best. Because my best is not always what my kids would think would be my best at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night when I'm exhausted and trying to shepherd them to bed. But just that notion of, okay, whatever time of day it is and whatever situation you're in, just if you can be confident that you're doing your best, then, that in and of itself can help you through.
I'm going to tap into that just a little bit because I know that you had said, as you and I were talking about the theme for the show, and it's wake-up calls, you and I talked about this book being an aha book for you. And I don't know about you, but through my life, I just have little pieces. There's no one major piece for me, one final thing, but there have been pretty big events and then other little pops. So would you be willing to share a little bit about that book that was so helpful for you, that I love too?
I love that book, The 4 Agreements, and by
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Okay.
Yep.
I could see the name, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Okay. And you want me to?
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and share? We'll just add together so the audience gets to know a little bit about this.
Well, I already shared. Do your best. Is
one of them.
One of them. Be impeccable with your word, which is to me so important, particularly in my career as a marketing communications expert. Just say what you mean, and also I think do what you say. Even though that's not necessarily what
behaviorally. Match it up.
Match it up, and. That's an opportunity for growth for me with my kids in particular, because the power of your words is so significant and can color the way someone feels about a situation. And
don't be shocked if your kids call you on it.
Yeah.
Because if you really follow the 4 agreements and actually other kinds of tools, they're going to hold us accountable for what we said.
Right.
Which I actually, it's not always so fun, but it's not a but, it's an and, it's so very important.
And don't take things personally, because everyone walks with some kind of battle that they're dealing with, and you have to remember that, it's not about you sometimes, or most of the time. They have their own stuff going on in their life that may color the way in which they interact with you. And the last is don't make assumptions, which I think goes hand in hand with don't take things personally, because if something doesn't feel right to you, you need to have the courage to ask questions to get clarity about what's really going on. I see that at work, in the way I interact with colleagues or agencies that I deal with, and just what's really going on, and be sure that we're all on the same page, and don't make assumptions about why they're behaving in a certain way. And I also see that with my kids, with my friends, family, making sure that I understand what's really motivating their behavior, and not coloring the situation with my own experience, making sure I understand where they're coming from.
Isn't that very cool? It's so neat to kind of live this world where you can be so thoughtful and take the time to be thoughtful, and that does take time. I don't know about your experience. I run through my life pretty quickly at a pretty good clip and try to always remember to slow it down a bit to be thoughtful and try to find that balance in between, which is actually part of the beautiful thing that comes from wake-up calls. You don't always have to wait for a wake-up call, but if it comes, it gives you the chance to stop and pause.
Yeah, another a friend of mine, she gave me a book when I was diagnosed with cancer called Crazy Sexy Cancer Tips.
Oh, really? Great book?
And just an amazing book. My friend Tanya gave me that book, and I've received a couple other books from other people, but that one in particular was all about having the right attitude and that notion of, I can conquer this, I can do this, and with a certain comedic element to it, it really helped me deal with some of the not so pleasant aspects of being poked and prodded. When you're in any kind of illness, you're dealing with all kinds of tests, and it's not that comfortable. You lose a little bit of your dignity. And
like,
that book had a really great way of looking at it. She didn't have breast cancer. I can't remember what kind of cancer the woman had, but it was just this very powerful book that I've given to a few other people myself.
Could you give our audience that title again?
Crazy, Sexy Cancer Tips.
Beautiful.
And it's perfect.
Beautiful.
And it was just a great book. I think they even made a TV show out of it.
Oh, did they? That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's really good.
Your journey also offered you an opportunity to become more alive to other opportunities. And part of another aha or life-changing experience that you had was most recently as a trip you took.
Oh, right.
So,
yeah. I was very lucky in that last winter I got a phone call from someone at the Jewish Federation here in Rochester who said, we'd really like you to apply for this trip to Israel. It's a young professional group that's going to be matched up with young professionals in our sister city in Modi'in, Israel. And we'd like you to consider being a part of this select group of people who will learn together about Judaism, about Israel, about what it means to be a Jewish leader here in Rochester. And there's some leadership components to what they're doing. And I applied and I was accepted, and this wonderful group of 14 people have met over the last 6 months together to learn more about each other and our sense of Jewish identity and Israel. And then just recently, beginning of July, went on a trip to Israel and met our Israeli hosts, people who are young professionals over there that we partnered up with. And I couldn't feel luckier that we had this opportunity to be with them and to really see what it means to be Israeli, what it means to be in a country that's surrounded by enemies, what it means to really be a Jew. And I feel so lucky for what I have here in the United States, but I also recognize that I could do more to be more of a, practice my Judaism a bit more, because there it's a part of their way of life. Whereas here, you have to seek it out. You have to seek out opportunities to have Jewish experiences. And
so that was one of the biggest differences you experienced?
Well, there, Friday night, Saturday, it's Shabbat, the Sabbath, and everything shuts down, and you do observe Shabbat. Whereas here, well, I could go to my kid's soccer game, or I could go to a movie, or out to dinner, and yeah, I choose to go to service at synagogue sometimes.
Right.
But there, you're
it's a way of life.
It's a way of life, and here you have to seek it out more. And just every one of them has been through the military. That's part of the culture. You go through the military, and so it's a unique bonding experience. They've all had that experience, and they're committed to their country and doing whatever they can to preserve a Jewish state. And here we're, Jewish Americans or American Jews, however you want to describe it. At least that's for me. And I didn't mean to make the show about Judaism, but just this notion of my identity and what's important to me, and just it reinforced some things that have been going on in my life, that I'm getting more involved in certain aspects of the community. And I connected with people over there in a way that I hadn't expected to, and really saw their country and had an interesting experience just touring around and really seeing it through the eyes of an Israeli, not just from a tour bus, which I was appreciative of.
Sounds wonderful. So this was actually another opportunity to have a new wake-up call. This trip, this experience, this invitation.
Yeah, because I don't think, if I think about it, I don't think 4 years ago I would have thought I would be in such a great place, mentally. Just the ability to go off and, and explore Israel, and take off with 14 people that I didn't really know that well. I liked them, but I didn't know them that well, and really have this experience with them, and then meet Israelis for the first time, and be partnered up with them, and travel and learn more about their country. And I did go to the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, and that's one of the walls of the old temple that's still standing, and it's a very spiritual place, particularly for Jews. And just to have a moment where I touched the wall and I could just really feel at peace that, I'm very lucky for all that I have, and yeah, I've been through some bumps in the road, so to speak, but that I am here 4 years later. I don't know that I expected to be in such a great place in my mind, 4 years after what I'd been through. So I feel lucky.
You almost sound blessed.
I do, don't I?
You are blessed, aren't you?
I think we all are. If we can find it
in
ourselves, we can find the good in whatever our situation is. It's the power of positive thinking. That's in all the books that I've read over this this journey. And I don't mean to sound preachy, but there's a lot to be said for that. Because I could have sat at home and cried my eyes out and chosen to be, sad all the time instead of seeing the opportunity to better myself and seeing the opportunity to give back just like was given to me.
That's a theme that as you and I talk, it just resonates. The wake-up call not only was about your journey and the other doors that opened up, it just opened this part of you that was about giving back. And as you said, 4 years later, you're sitting here on this show, very open, very honest about the experience, your personal experience, and you have the opportunity to give back. What happens when you give back love? What happens to you inside?
I just do it because it feels great. And I know that I really help people. Just through words, through guidance, through suggestions on how I coped with something that they may not have thought of. And I just do it because I know how helpful it was to me.
When they were
giving back to me.
So that cycle started again.
Yeah, that pay it forward. I don't mean to sound preachy or trite. It's just truly something that I experienced through the kindness of my sister, my parents, my friends, through healthcare providers that really didn't know me, but were so kind to me and had a sense of grace and humor to help me through a real tough time. And granted, I didn't have chemotherapy. I had stage 0 cancer, but still, it was my own challenge. Hard for me. Granted, not nearly as hard as the woman who, God, things happen for a reason. First day of radiation treatments, who am I sitting across from? I'm sitting across from this woman who's finishing up her 39th and final radiation treatment. She had been through double mastectomy, chemotherapy, whatever. She'd been through a lot more than I had. And she had such a positive attitude. And that was exactly what I needed to see and hear and feel on the first day of that very scary 6-week, 30 radiation treatment process, is to see that is what it can be like on the other end from someone who had to carry so much more than I did in terms of challenges with the treatments that she was going through. And she was great. She had a positive attitude, and I was like, okay, I can do this.
So wherever you are, I think a great big huge thank you is what we would like you to know, because she hopefully will know who she is as she's sitting in the audience and hopefully viewing this show. The piece that, another part of information that's so beautiful in this conversation, clearly is the gift of kindness again and grace that keeps coming through as we have all these great conversation pieces. Every time we get to that piece around the kindness of those people around you, it just seems to have moved mountains for you.
Truly. I'm not always a nice person. I don't think any of us can say we're always a nice person.
I think we would probably be pretty dishonest if we said we're always a nice person.
I think we always, I try to put my filter.
Right.
And, in my job, I also interact with lots of people who are in transition, looking for job opportunities, looking for some coaching, and I always try to direct people to opportunities, and even after I've met with them, if I think of something, I'll contact them to connect them, because I found my job at GRE because of networking and the kindness of other people who saw something in me and recommended me to be a candidate for the position I have at GRE. And so it's just, since I've been back in Rochester, it's just this constant network of good, positive activity that I think maybe since I got sick, I see it more than I did before, and I'm a more participant in doing my fair share to help others, through just words or actions, or or not saying certain things. So.
And it is powerful. That is that gift of caring and the gift of realizing that when you come into any major life transition, you have some choices. And how you choose to move through it will really be up to each and every one of us. And I do know that that's amazing. If you were wanting the audience to know one or two particular elements about the gifts from going through a major transition, what would you want them to know?
That you have the power to, take control of your life, and you have to be advocate for yourself. And don't be afraid to lean on other people. I was selective, but I did lean on certain people who could provide me with strength. People who offered to drive me to radiation treatments, people who offered to make me dinner, provided bracelet, books. But it was really it wasn't so much the things they were giving me.
Right.
It was the thought that they cared enough about me that they wanted to put themselves out for me. And I try to do that for other people as well. And I think that people often say, oh, well, I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. And, oh, your mother, was sick and I didn't know what to do, so I did nothing. And I just think that while it may be uncomfortable to talk to someone who's in need, whether it be illness, death, divorce, what have you, don't shy away from them if you have some connection to them. Say, I don't really know what it is that I need to say to you, but I just want you to know I'm here for you. And I don't have the magic words, nor does, the magic words weren't said to me, it was the intent. It was the notion that people really cared enough about me that they picked up the phone, they sent me a card. They just don't let your own insecurities or discomfort with the situation prevent you from reaching out to someone who really does need you. And it does take a village. Again, I don't mean to sound preachy or trite. It's just
you actually don't.
It's just one of those things where it's that sense of community and people truly just showing their humanity and their kindness that touched me the most.
That is the essence of what I was touched by as you and I had this great conversation as we sit together. And I do so admire you, and I thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I admire you too. I love talking to you. You bring out the best in me, I think.
Well, and mutual. I really enjoy being with you, and I'm hoping that this was an opportunity for our listening audience to know that there's a lot of opportunities to have a wake-up call, and if you can recognize it and how you choose to move through it will really be up to you. And I love the ideas of leaning on folks and finding those folks who can help you walk through it, and also asking each and every one of us to walk through our own fear and our own discomfort when it comes to being of service to another human being.
Yeah, and you don't have to go through a hard experience like health issue, divorce, death, to just be appreciative of everything that you have, and just a sense of gratitude.
So on that note, if you would like to spend more time talking with Stacy, if you would like to contact me with any ideas or thoughts or suggestions for the show, please do so. You can reach us through inspirit@inspirit7.com, or you can visit the website at inspirit7.com. We invite any ideas and thoughts you might have. And on the final note, thank you so much. You were such a love. Thank you for coming and being with me. And I will see you soon, because it's a great life.
That's right.
This program was produced through Penfield Community Television in Penfield, New York.